Hi everyone. Very happy to be live with SJ Richards. Do you prefer should we just call you Steve tonight?
Yeah. I'm only called SJ because Steve Richards is well, you might know him. He's a journalist and he writes
Oh,
books, and I don't write about politics. So yeah, so I'm SJ. But Steve, please, Steve.
fair enough. Do you want to start us off with an introduction to you and your books?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So um, as you probably know, my daughter writes books. I've written for a few years, but this year I got the inspiration to try and finish the novel I started last year, which is the first in a crime series. This in reverse on the screen, I think, is Taken to the Hills. So I've written or I'm writing a series about ex-DCI Luke Sackville. So the thing that's a bit different is the fact that he's no longer in the police. He's joined a superficially boring company, very close to the company I worked for before I retired, a business outsourcing company. He's made head of ethics, but there are missing women and murders to solve, and he has a bit of a team of misfits handed to him, and they have to solve the crime. That's book one in the series. Book two, that came out yesterday. Book two comes out at the beginning of December. Book three, which I'm writing at the moment, comes out at the beginning of February, and then on from then.
So before we get into the books in more detail, we first knew you from all the proud dad pictures in the
Yeah.
in the group. Do you want to tell us a little bit about?
That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Abby, yeah, well, Abby Davies is my daughter, as you know. She started writing when she was 18, and I shall reveal she'll be 40 in a couple of months. So that's a while ago. I've helped her throughout her career. She self-published a little, over a decade ago. And then finally, she got a publishing contract with HarperCollins. So I've always helped her with anything financial she can't cope with anyway, but also marketing. She got two books out with HarperCollins, Mother Loves Me and The Cult. And then beginning of this year, we decided to go independent and self-publish. So she published Arrietty and her number one fan last week. And she's got another one coming out in a couple of months. And I'm, I guess, her alpha reader. So I take it on first, tell her what's wrong with it. She makes it right because she's brilliant. And then we get on with marketing. So yeah, I've done a lot of that. And when she decided to self-publish, I thought, why not go for it?
Yeah. She's also got some very lovely, because you're quite talented yourself. She's got some very lovely pictures inspired by her books, hasn't she, that were made by.
Yeah, not so much pictures as 3D frighteners, aren't they?
Yeah, they're brilliant.
So Mother Loves Me. In Mother Loves Me, the victim gets locked in an underground dungeon, and what do you do? And so I made her a dungeon with a doll in it and numerous nasty beasties like the spider. And then for the cult, I built her a house, put the book in it, put the there was a scythe in that story, a scary Valentine's mask, not Valentine's Day mask, Venetian carnival mask. So I made those for her. Yeah, and I've still got to do them for Arrietty and her number one fan. I've been too busy writing my own stuff. But yeah, I'll be doing those at some point, but don't tell her.
Well, unless she's watching tonight.
No, she's not. No, she won't be. She'll be busy. They're having a date night. Her daughter's in the other room at the moment. We have Heidi once a week, and Wednesday is the night we have her. So Abby and Tommy will be out for the evening.
Lovely. You've got some hellos. You've got Sam said hi, so is Sarah. There were quite a few reviews of Taken to the Hills in the group yesterday.
Yeah, that was nice, wasn't it? Yeah, I tried. Obviously, although it only came out yesterday, I sent out a few advance copies to people, and it seemed to go down all right. You know, I've got a few good reviews on Goodreads. I think with a series, you know, you hope the first one might do okay, but a lot of it's down to getting a few books out there, and then, you know, you hope people get hooked. I mean, the guy, the guy I like the most reading is J.D. Kirk. Have you read his stuff?
Yeah, I've read some of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on book 17. 18 came out yesterday in the Logan series, and yeah, it's very inspirational.
So, what can you tell us about? Because I'm self-confessed, you know this. I'm only a very small percentage into the book, but only because it only came out yesterday.
I think
Um,
you said three, didn't you? Yeah,
yeah,
3%.
3%. Yeah, but I've made a start.
You have, yes.
Uh, tell us a little bit about your main character. So, for anyone who's watching who's not got to know you yet, what's the main character? Let's get to
Well,
know.
one of the things I've written, by the way, is a prequel that I give away for free, which tells a bit of a background to the main story. But in summary, his name's Luke Sackville. He was a DCI in Avon and Somerset Police. He left the police when his wife was killed in a hit and run. Uh, didn't go back to work for 6 months and joins, bless you,
Sorry.
joins a consultancy, Filchers, thinking he's going to be head of security, but they make him head of ethics. He's given a team of 4. He doesn't choose them, he's given them. And then they are put onto a case where a woman has been accused of bribery, and that leads on to, well, worse things, murder and more. And they have to solve it. I don't want to give any more than that away. But obviously, he and his team are the foundation of the series. He and the 4 of them will appear in every book, you know, as with a normal DCI team, if you like, but working within a private company.
So, why did you choose to make him sort of not a DCI, if that makes sense?
Yeah, 2 reasons really. One, I wanted to be a bit different because there are, you know, it's hard to be different. There are so many crime series out there with DCIs. And secondly, I worked for the same sort of boring company, Sopra Steria. I don't think we had, to my knowledge, we didn't have any abductions or murders, but I based it on that company. So you've got a fair bit of the petty office politics and bureaucracy, which I know you get in the police, but it's kind of different in a private company. So yeah, that was my inspiration really. Well, the inspiration was reading crime series, but the idea behind my series was to make it different and put it within a private company.
So, Abby's kind of always gone standalone
Yeah.
with her books, hasn't she? Is there a reason why you decided to sort of go with a series over like a standalone to begin with?
Well, I
Or
must be honest, I've been trying to persuade her to do a series because when it comes to self-publishing, it's kind of easier. You know, you can build a fan base more easily, although she's doing it pretty well with standalones. For me, it's really because I like series. You know, crime series are my favourite go-to genre. So I read psychological thrillers. I'm a big fan of Gillian McAllister, for example, but crime series are my favourite. So that's the reason.
does all the help that you've done with marketing and stuff, has that come in handy for your books?
It will do. I haven't done any yet for my books. Still learning how to market. It's complex, isn't it? I don't know if you've ever had to delve into Amazon ads or Facebook ads or something. When you're on Facebook, you see them coming up, don't you? And you sometimes click on them. Actually generating them is pretty complex, I think. So I've got a lot of learning to do. Mark Dawson, you know Mark Dawson, the author. He's got an ads for authors sort of course that I signed up for a couple of days ago. So I've got to work my way through that and learn how to do it. It's complex, but we've got to do it. But I'll be starting with Abby's, trying to, you know, get her book out in front of people more. So it's one thing to write a good book; it's another thing to actually market it and get it known.
Yeah, and one thing Abby does, and I'm sure you do as well, when I get further into the book, is write a good book.
She certainly writes a good book. You'll have to judge for yourself whether I write a good book. It's certainly
Yeah.
better than my previous attempts. I tell you, I wrote a book about 3 years ago, which at the time I thought was okay, but looking back, I think I got it completely wrong. I concentrated on the plot rather than the characters, and now it seems stupid to have done that, because any book, whatever the genre, I think, is more about characters than plot. The plot is important, but it's the characters that carry it through. And I suppose in a series that's even more important. You want to leave people wanting to hear more about the characters you've embedded into it.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? If you think about the series, is like you were saying with J.D. Kirk, the thing that really stands out is his characters that he's created.
It is. If when you ask people about the series, they remember a certain thing that Tyler did, or Logan did, or Hoon did. They don't remember much about the plot, even though the plots are heavy. And that's why they're heavier than mine, I must say. But that's what he does so well. He contrasts a really heavy plot with multiple serial killers with out and out ridiculous humour. He does it really well, and it's really good to lighten the mood.
Have you tried to build some humor into yours as you go, or?
I have, yeah, I definitely have. You'll have to see for yourself whether any of it works. But yeah, I've tried to do the same sort of reason, really. Make it, the whole thing's got to be entertaining, hasn't it? But also to lighten the mood on occasion. So yeah, I've tried to do it, and I'm doing it through the characters. A
Um,
couple of, sorry, I was going to say not just the core team, a couple of the Pratts who work for the company around him. I've deliberately tried to make them reflective of the sort of people I came across when I worked. Not necessarily identical to any of them, but reflective of some of their attitudes and manners. And I hope there's humour in that.
I'm sure there will be. Sarah's asked if you've got an auto buy author that you have to buy. I call them you shut up and take my money authors. You know the ones who
JD Kirk. JD Kirk.
JD Kirk. Just JD Kirk?
Yeah, well, just to say on JD Kirk, I liked his Logan series so much, and the Hoon series, that I went off and looked him up, and I've listened on audiobook and read all of his Space Team series, which is a genre I don't normally go to at all. It's science fiction, but extreme comedy. So yeah, he's definitely a go-to. Who else? I like David J. Gatwood, and Alex Smith when it comes to crime series. Going outside that genre, I mentioned Gillian McAllister. She's very good. Alex Scarrow is another one in crime series. And I've been lucky enough to get Aubrey Parsons to narrate the audiobook of my series. I don't know if you know Aubrey, but he's done Alex Scarrow's and Dave Gatwood's books, and he's just got a great voice. They amaze me, these narrators, the way they're able to play so many people.
Yeah, we had I don't know about Aubrey, but we had we've had Paul Gibson on with his narrator of his audio.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when you hear like their point of view about sort of narrating books and doing the different voices and things, because that really sells it to people, doesn't it? Or really puts people off the series, like a bad narrator.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I've been put off. What was the worst one? I think it was Game of Thrones. I remember listening to that read by one of the Cusacks, I think it was, and he was just awful. He changed someone's accent mid book from Irish to Scottish, and some of his attempts at young women, he was about 70, the narrator, were just appalling. Whereas Aubrey or Angus King, who does the J.D. Kirk books, are just magnificent. They can handle a narrative with 3 different women in it, and you believe it's them. It's incredible. So yeah, Aubrey, I couldn't believe it actually when Aubrey agreed to narrate my books. I feel very, very lucky.
It's good that you're bringing them out in audio as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. yeah. It's nice to have all three angles to it. Abby's going to be having her book out in audio as well, by the way. She's got a narrator. It'll just follow on a bit.
Is different narrator to you?
Yeah,
Or...
yeah. Hers will be a woman, which suits her style. It's her books. All of them? Yeah, I think all of them are written from a woman's perspective, so it makes more sense to have a woman as the narrator. I
Yeah.
must also say, you know, this we've used the same cover designer, who is absolutely brilliant. You know, they're completely different. Obviously, we've given him a different brief for each of them, but he's fantastic. And for mine, you know, the next one is called Black Money. The one after that, Fog of Silence, and he's taken the same theme but varied the colours and the images to reflect the book. He's so good that for the third book, which is Fog of Silence, which is set around illicit activities going. Well, if you think of Russell Brand, it's that kind of thing. Celebrities misbehaving. It's set around a media company, a BBC type company, if you like. But rather than describe their head office building, I gave the outline brief for the cover to Ollie. He came back with it, and I've used that as the building I'm describing in the book.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, he's a fantastic cover designer. Really pleased with him.
So that's another thing where you've got like the literary connection in the family. So you've already got like a cover designer and things.
Yeah, well, I found, you know, I did the research for the cover designer for Arrietty, for Abby, and then asked him if he could design for me. So it made sense to use the same guy, but I think we were both blown away by just how good he was. We'd seen his portfolio, obviously, but he's just fantastic. Very, very, very good. And he hit crime series on the head, you know, in terms of the type of cover you need.
So what does it feel like being in publication week?
Surreal.
Surreal. How did you celebrate
Surreal.
publication day?
Not massively. We're going to celebrate. Well, we're having a weekend away this week. That'll be fun. This week, to be honest, we're dieting. We came back from South America last week, and the steaks over there were a bit bad for us. So we've had a week of dieting, and our normal celebration would be a meal out. We didn't do that. Finishing the diet tomorrow. Then Friday, we're heading off to Yorkshire, actually to meet Dave Gatwood, because he's got a week up there. Are you familiar with his books?
I've interviewed him.
Ah, right. Well, you know, he's written the Grimm series, and he's having I think he originally called it Grimm Fest, but anyway, it's a day on Saturday where he and Aubrey Parsons are going to sort of do a couple of Q&As, a reading, and we'll have a fun evening in Hawes, which is where his books are based. So we're going up Friday, coming back Sunday. That'll be our little celebration of publication day.
Yeah, well, Yorkshire's a good place to visit.
I've heard Leeds is all right. What do you think? Have you ever lived in Leeds?
Oh, well, I live there now. So
yeah. I know. If we can drag ourselves up again, we must come to the Crime Book Club Day again next year. That's going to be in Leeds again, isn't it?
It is, yeah. June next year.
Yeah. What date is it?
Ooh.
See, I'm giving you a chance to advertise now. What?
You've got me. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, Abby and I would both be keen to come up, so we might well make it up to that. That'd be fun. It sounded like you had a really good time this year.
We really did, but it's just Yorkshire just in general. So I'm not from here. 8th of June.
8th of June. Well done.
Yorkshire just in general is like a lovely, friendly place. Do you know what I mean? So.
Oh, I know it is. I know it is. Yeah, well, we used to live the other side of the Pennines in Macclesfield. And the first time we moved south, when I was forced down to Bedfordshire for a job, we were struck by just how different it was in terms of people. You know, Lancashire is much the same as Yorkshire in terms of friendliness. They're great counties. Mind you, I'm in Somerset now and I'm loving it here. Bedfordshire I didn't like. Somerset is lovely.
I don't know Somerset that well, to be honest. My
Right.
mum's from down south, but it's not a.
She's from where?
My mum's from like down south. She's from Suffolk, but
All right. No, that's nowhere near.
that's about as far down as we've been.
All right. Well, you should journey down sometime. Yeah, and I've based my books. I was born in Bath. Have you ever been to Bath?
Hmm.
Well, I was born in Bath, which is about half an hour from where we live now. We live south of Bath, and my books are based in and around Bath because I know it well and it made sense.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you about where like if they were set in kind of a real
Yeah, no,
like yeah.
they're set in Bath. We live near Wells, which is. Have you heard of Wells?
Yeah, it's got a big cathedral.
It has, and it's the smallest city in the country. It's only got 11,000 people. We're based just outside, so I've I've got my hero living in Norton St Philip, which is a little village, um, well, south of Bath again, but not where we are. And I've got different bits of action in Bath and also in Wells and around the place. I've got a fantastic cider place near here, and I asked the guy's permission to put him in the book. So he's the only real person in the first book. He's been running the cider. It's a cider bar, and he's been running it for 54 years. Before that, his grandfather ran it for 51 years. And it's just a
Wow.
big shed at the back of the farm with a couple of massive barrels in it. Fantastic place, and he's a real Somerset local.
When it takes off, maybe he'll make, like Mike Craven's coffee shop that you mentioned does a specific bean now.
Well, did you
Uh,
hear? Wensleydale Brewery have made a special beer for Dave Gatwood's weekend this weekend.
yeah, maybe you'll get a special cider for your books.
Might do. Just some of his normal cider is good enough, to be honest. Yeah, but yeah, I must go. I must pop back actually and give him a copy of the book. He's a great guy. Something else that's been interesting in the book is putting a bit of accent into it, because obviously it's Somerset and we have accents like Yorkshire have accents. I have 6 people who read my first draft for me and feedback, beta readers. Abby's one of them, and one of them is Canadian, and she just really struggled with some of the words. But you've got to put them in. Down here, are you familiar with the expression GIRT? GIRT? You're nodding. You're not, are you?
No, I am, yeah. Means big.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but you couldn't combine it with big usually. So people down here will say something is GIRT great or GIRT wonderful, and they have a habit of calling people my lovers and that sort of thing. And my Canadian reader struggled with some of that. She got past it, I think.
I think it's important though to have a little bit of the regional kind of accent in, isn't it?
I
To
think
make
it
it
is.
more real.
Yeah, it is. I think it is important. I've got some other accents as well, but yeah, it's important to have a couple there, and it gives Aubrey more work to do when he's narrating as well, doesn't it? Give him a challenge. He's Welsh, he can do anything.
But
He
it
does
gives
one
you
hell of a lot of Yorkshire for Dave Gatwood.
well, there you go. And that's not the easiest accent to pull off, is it?
No, I'm just reading one of the comments. Sarah Blackburn, that's the wrong name to say West Yorkshire is the best place to live.
But Sarah lives though in West Yorkshire,
Yeah, but with a name like Blackburn, that just doesn't make sense, does it?
so she's biased.
So it should be Lancashire.
Uh, TG Campbell wants to know what your cider would be called if one was going to
Sorry,
be.
say that again.
TG Campbell wants to know what your
Yeah.
cider would be called if he was going to name one after you.
Oh, golly. I don't know. The cider from this guy is called Wilkins cider. What would I call mine? Apple Loft cider. Because we're self-publishing, Abby and I have come up with a name. It's on the side. If you look on the side of the book, if you
Yeah.
look on your book, there's a tiny little logo, Apple Loft Press. And the reason for that is we live in an old 15th century cottage, and the apple loft upstairs is where Abby did a lot of her writing before Heidi was born. So we decided to call our publishing company Appleloft Press. So it would have to be Appleloft Cider, I think.
That's a good name.
Yeah, it works, doesn't it?
It does. T.G. Campbell, based on one of your questions you got asked earlier, is one of my go-to authors to buy.
Oh, is he? He?
She.
She?
Yeah.
All right. What does she write? Is that a
If I
crime
any
series?
book she put out, I would.
All right.
She writes the Bow Street Society series of books are kind of Victorian-esque, but there's a miscellaneous cast of people who solve the mysteries in them, depending on. So they put the people to solve the mystery depending on their skills.
That sounds neat
It is. It's
and
very.
clever.
They're very good.
So how many she wrote? Is that a series then, or
There's
independent
a
books?
series, yeah, and some spin-off short stories, which is what I'm reading at the moment.
Mm.
Not that much of a fan.
Oh, very good. I guess that's one of the problems of having your name is T.G. Campbell or S.J. Richards. You don't know what sex the person is till you dig into it, like M.W. Craven.
Yeah, that seems to be a very big thing in author, like crime author things, though, doesn't it? Having initials.
It does, doesn't it? As I said, I did it purely because Steve Richards is a political author. Otherwise, I'd have gone with that. But yeah, it does seem to be quite a big thing. But well, go with it. J.D. Kirk has publicly said he doesn't know what J.D. stands for, because his real name is Barry Hutchison.
Yeah.
He wrote as J.D. Kirk because of the swear words, I think, because he's written something like 150 children's books.
Yeah, some people do it as a change, don't they, from genre? Like
Yeah.
if they change genre, they'll have a different name.
Yeah, Rhys Dillon has done that, hasn't he? I think he's got 4 different names he writes under. I think his real first name is Dillon, but yeah, he writes crime series as Rhys Dillon and 3 other types of book as others. T.G. Reid is another, isn't he? I think he writes under 2 different names. At the moment, I'm busy enough just with book 1 having come out this week. I don't think I need to think about other names.
Other names or other series is.
Or other series, yeah.
Leslie Lloyd says the regional bits are really good. It'd be good to include a glossary for readers that are struggling.
She's saying, has she read my book, or is she saying?
I'm going to guess she has read your book, maybe, but she said it's a good idea to include a glossary for readers that struggle.
Yeah, it's an idea, isn't it? It depends how. I mean, to be honest, the Somerset accent is only really used much in the second book, but it would be good, as I said, for readers who don't, like most people, don't know what Somerset people mean when they say Gert, to have a glossary. Oh, that's a good idea.
It's a good way of doing it, I think.
And Sarah's, I think, apologising for her surname now, saying it's her hubby's surname. So her real surname is Harragus, is it?
Could be. You never know. It's could also be why she lives in Yorkshire. I still live in Yorkshire because I married a Yorkshireman. It's a sound plan.
Well, we came back to Somerset because we were babysitting for Heidi so often. It made sense to come back here rather than stay in Bedfordshire, and I'm just delighted we've come here. We've got the sort of house that suits us.
That's good. TG wants to know if you could meet one of your characters in real life, who would you choose and why?
It would be Josh, one of the team. He's the youngest member of the team, and he's. I think it'd be quite humorous to meet him. I enjoy writing him. Whether other people find him humorous when they read him, I don't know. But I quite like his character, and each book it's given me a bit of a I'm about a third of the way into writing the third one, and when I get to a chapter that's about Josh, it kind of gets me going a bit. I just enjoy it because I know he's going to mess up in some way or another, and I find it funny. Even if others don't, I find it funny. So yeah, with Josh.
So, because you've used Bath and Wells and like all those lovely places as locations in your book, are you tempted to have like photos of your locations kind of on your author website and things so people can see what they're like?
I have a bit. I've started that. Yeah. Obviously, I had to do a bit of research for the book, which was lovely because a lot of the research involved pubs. So that meant taking photos. So yeah, I've got. There's Wilkins Cider Farm. Got some good pictures of the farm, the barrels of uh, Harry Wilkins himself. Sorry, Roger Wilkins himself. I had to go to Tucker's Grave, which is a cider house, one of a not many original cider houses left in the country. That's fantastic. It's a very old pub with no real bar, just a couple of barrels in the lounge. No food, just locals and good drink, mainly cider. And I had to go to the George at Norton St. Philip, one of many, which is, my main protagonist's local, which is one of the pubs in the country that claims to be the oldest. I think it got its license in 1223. So that's a pretty neat pub as well. So yeah, I visited a few places, and I've got a few photos that I've banged onto the website.
Sarah wants to know, and I'm going to give you the twist on this that Sam does as well. Sarah wants to know what actor or actress you'd love to see play your characters on TV. So I'll let you answer that first, and then I'll ask you Sam's twist on that question.
All right. Which actor, actress? Well, that's interesting. So if I go to because I've not even thought about this. It's hard enough imagining them on a page going out to people, let alone going out on the television. My main protagonist, Luke Sackville, is 6'6" and an ex-rugby player. So he's a pretty big bloke. He was a winger. He played for Bath in his younger days before he joined the police. So I've got to think of someone pretty big, haven't I, for that? Help me. Got to be someone reasonably young. Luke is early 40s. Would have been Clint Eastwood 40 years ago. I can't think of. Come on, help me, Caroline. Who would it be? Who's a big, tall?
Not help you.
Well, Bill actor.
Apart from the ex-rugby player and famous, I could lend you my husband, who's the right height.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, that'll do then. Right, Mr. Maston. It'll be. That'll be my actor.
I don't think he'd be a good actor, but
All right. I can't think of anyone. I'll have a think about that. I'll message you afterwards.
Sam's twist on that question is: if they were adapted, what character would you play?
Oh, I'd like to play Filcher, his boss, just because I used years ago. I used to be in pantomimes, and playing the baddie was always the most fun. Filcher's not. He's not an out and out baddie. He's just a complete. I mentioned them earlier. Complete and utter. What's it? And it'd be fun to play him. He's full of office bullshit, office, the sort of rubbish they talk in offices that drive you up the wall, pushing the envelope, thinking out of the box, all that sort of stuff. He's full of that, and it'd be fun to play him. So yeah, I'd like to play him.
I think Sarah's suggesting Clive Mantle.
Who's he? I know the name. I can't picture him. Well, yes, then, Sarah. I can't picture him, but yeah, all right.
Let's say yes.
That's a yes. Yeah, I'll recruit him.
How do you find it? So you've talked about the locations and the characters. How do you find it coming up with the sort of the crimes for the plot? Where do you get inspiration from?
That's interesting, isn't it? They talk about planners and pantsers, don't they? As to whether you plan your book or you just go by the seat of your pants. I think with each of my three, the planning phase has lasted about 30 minutes, whereby I just sit down and think, right, what might happen? Like with book 3, I just sat down and I thought, right, how can a team looking after ethics in a business outsourcing company get involved in bad doings and murder and so on. And I thought of the whole Jimmy Savile, now Russell Brand, Stuart Hall, Rolf Harris type of thing, where the media has hidden it from the public. You know, they've known about it within the organisation for years. And when I worked for Steria, the company like the one in my book, we had clients like the BBC, so we ran their finance operation. So if you're in there, you would be close to the organisation. And so the idea of book 3 is that because they're close to the organisation, they start hearing about these, start hearing what they initially think is gossip and start investigating it because it seems unethical and unearth all sorts of things. But the planning was half an hour, really, and then I like to start writing and see what the characters do. I find it's a bit like reading, when you write, I don't really know what's going to happen in a chapter. I think, right, this one's about Josh's perspective. This has just happened. Let's see where he goes with it and see what happens. It means there's a bit of editing later if you've got chronology wrong or whatever, but it works for me.
You've got to go with the method that works for you.
Yeah.
I'm always intrigued by how people come up with like the villains and like the bad deeds. Like Abby is the nicest person when you sit and chat to her, but how did she come up with all those really dark, creepy?
No, she's not nice. No. Yeah, I know, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, with book 1, I did set out with a twist in mind, and that was the only part of the plot that I had, the twist as to who the murderer was, and I just went from there, knowing that. But yeah, with Abby's a bit like me, actually. It's the same sort of process for her. She comes up with an initial basic idea. She's just come up with another one, actually, that she's been really pleased with herself about a couple of days ago. And do you want to say, hang on, she's just going to say night.
Say night.
Night, Darren. That's Heidi, Abby's daughter. Night, see you in the morning.
Can you come and say goodnight?
Yeah, I'll say goodnight in a bit. Yeah, where were we? That was a distraction. Yeah, Abby's a bit like me. She just writes from the seat of her pants once she's got a basic idea.
Everyone's been distracted by Heidi.
I know, she's nice, isn't she? She's lovely. It's lovely that we're down here, we're able to have her once a week. And so she always comes over on a Wednesday and sleeps over. And then I take her back into school the next morning. They only live half an hour from us. And she's good fun.
So that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's lovely, yeah.
Do you and Abby write together? Share ideas?
We share our own ideas. We don't write together. And as you know, we don't write the same genre, but she will throw an idea at me and I'll, debate it with her, if you like. We've done that a lot over the years. Mine, I haven't, because I've decided I wanted her to be one of my first readers. So my process, I'm a bit more structured than Abby, probably, but my process is to write a first draft, get my wife Penny to read it because she's an ardent crime series fan. So she tells me what's wrong with it. And then I've got 6 beta readers, Abby being one of them. So they get the next one, which similarly results in some sort of major changes generally, where I've, something seems far too fetched, or a character hasn't behaved in perhaps quite the right way or whatever, and I then edit it. So because of that, I don't tend to share my ideas with Abby until she's got the chance to read the full book. She tends to throw hers around with me more, but then I read the full book later. So I've read each of her books about half a dozen times, I should think.
That's the thing, I guess, if you're going through the process of helping to beta read and things, you do read a book more than once. Good books,
Yeah.
though, are enjoyable no matter how many times you read them.
Her next one. So her number one fan came out last week. Her next one is The Girl Who Heard Maggots, which I read for her a couple of weeks ago, and that was I think it was the third time I'd read it, and I still enjoyed it. It had been a year since I last read it, but she's improved it a bit, and I still enjoyed reading it the third time going. It's an intriguing title too, isn't it?
It is,
The
yeah.
Girl Who Heard Maggots. But yeah, that'll be fun. Well, fun in Abby's sense of the word. Not that many laughs.
So you've gone for a bit more humour in yours, though, you were saying.
Yeah, Abby's doesn't tend to lend itself to. I mean, hers are gothic horror come psychological thriller, aren't they? There's not really any humour, not really any space for humour in hers.
No, they
It would be
wouldn't.
fairly terrifying. Mine, there is a bit more space for it, so I've tried for it. Hopefully, it works. I enjoy writing it. That's the main thing.
So
I think if you don't enjoy writing it, it's not worth doing it, is it?
I don't
It's a
think
lot of fun writing it.
I don't think people would as enjoy reading it either. I think you probably can tell when the author's enjoyed writing something.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah.
So book 1 is out. What were you saying? You were
Yeah.
telling me about when book 2 and book 3 were out. Tell us a bit more about when they're out.
Right. Well, book 2 is out. I can't remember the exact date. I think it's something like the 3rd. It's the first Tuesday in December. I think I've just gone for the first Tuesday. So book 2 is called Black Money. Black money. The dictionary definition of black money is money gained from illicit or illegal activities. So black money deals with a client of this company that Luke works for, who are being used by an international terrorist organisation to launder money.
7th of November sound right?
Pardon?
7th of November sound right? If it's the first Tuesday in November?
No, first Tuesday in December.
Oh, first Tuesday in December. 5th of December.
Yeah, that'll be it, the 5th. So the stage of that is I've nearly finished editing it following my beta reader comments. So next week I'll be sending it out to some ARC readers, advanced copy readers, and also to Aubrey so he can record the audiobook. So I've got plenty of time really for finalising it, making sure it's as free of typos and any other errors as possible before it goes live. So I'm aiming for all 3 versions to be live on the same date again. And then the 3rd book, I'm a third of the way through writing the first draft. So my aim is to write that by the end of November, and then it'll be off to beta readers and ARC readers and published the first Tuesday in February. I haven't planned ahead as far as book 4, but if I can get book 4 either 2 or 3 months after that, that'll be ideal. That's what I'll be aiming for.
Do you have an idea of how many you would like to write in that series?
No, it's just open-ended, I think, at the moment. I don't see any reason why I need to decide on a closing point. It's not a closed series like Harry Potter or anything, it's open. Can go on as long as I can bear it and people can bear it.
Some people start a series like knowing how many books there'll be. Yeah. I think Millie Griffiths always said like the Ruth series would have so many books. Like when she pitched it, she was like, it'll be this many books. And has kind of pretty much stuck to that, I think.
Yeah. Not me.
People don't have like a plan at all and just, write as many as work for them for the series.
Yeah, well, that's my idea. I mean, obviously I started off just thinking, right, I'll write book 1 in a series, and then once I got into that, I thought, well, yeah, this is all right. I'll go into book 2 and book 3, and I'm not thinking beyond that, but I will write beyond that, and I'll keep going, as I said, until I'm fed up or the readers are fed up.
Do you think it'll be challenging to kind of keep coming up with a plausible reasons for Luke to kind of get involved in
Yeah.
investigations or
Yes, it'll be challenging, but I don't think it'll be a problem either.
good
A
answer.
company like that works with so many different organisations. There are, I didn't find it too difficult. I thought it might be difficult with the third, but didn't take me long to think of something that could slot in quite happily. The biggest challenge is the poor bloke. You've got to keep the police out of it in the main, and that's difficult, isn't it? If you've got murders going on and they become public, the police get involved and he loses control. So that's the more challenging thing. Coming up with actual incidents or intrigue or murder or abduction or whatever within the organisation is, I think, easy enough for me. It's the challenge is keeping it in such a way, writing it in such a way that Luke can regain control of it. And if the police are involved, it's on the periphery rather than wresting control from him.
So going back to your description of Luke, we know he's tall. Ex-rugby player, is there a reason why you chose to make him an ex?
Well, I like rugby, but no. Not. I just wanted, it's important that your character is different, isn't it? He's got to stand out in some way. I didn't want him to be one of the many who are completely haunted by their past, even though his wife was killed. I didn't want him haunted by that. I wanted to make him a bit interesting. That's not the only interesting aspect to him. His parents are the Duke and Duchess of Dorset. So he's got a somewhat, and he's a bit of almost an inverted snob. He's not proud. He's the opposite of proud of his aristocratic background. But there's no particular reason for all that. It was just a matter of thinking through what sort of character I wanted him to be.
You like rugby both codes or just one?
Oh, just the proper one, yeah. Not that stuff they play up north.
Ah, the proper one is the one they play up north.
They haven't got enough players up north. They're missing two. No, I don't dislike rugby league, but I'm a big rugby union fan.
There's a good have you ever read Nick Quantrill's books?
No.
And Nick Quantrill has a detective series with a character called Joe Garrity, and he's a ex-Hull KR player.
Oh, right. So rugby league, the other code.
Hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's genuinely like they're a really good series.
Mm. Yeah, with mine, the rugby it's kind of just incidental background to him, really.
They are a bit with Joe,
Yeah.
but Nick's one of those all-round good guys to know.
Nick Quantrill.
Nick Quantrill. If that makes sense. He's just one of those.
Right. Well,
There's
remember
lots
that.
of author events.
So I presume his books are based around there as well, are they? Around
Yeah,
Hull?
they're based. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And he organises Hull Noir.
Oh, I've heard of that. I saw it advertised, I think.
That's Nick.
Yeah, I went to Crime Fest. Have you been to that? In Bristol. Obviously, it's handy for me, but I went to that in May, and Abby and I are both going to go next May. That's quite a big crime event over, what was it? It was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I could only make the Friday because we were going away, but that's a pretty good event. And they had the big names there: Ellie Griffiths and Lisa Jewell and Neil Lancaster, and a whole bunch of others. And that was a good event. So we're going to that again. We're going to Dave Gatwood's We're also going to the book party. Have you heard of that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, that's halfway to you. It's in Birmingham. That sounds quite good because it's different. It's not. Well, it is a party, and it's not about authors sitting and signing books or joining panels. It's just a get together of authors and readers. Abby went last year and enjoyed it a lot, so we're both going this time. That should be good fun.
The Harrogate Crime Festival is good fun.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it?
Mm.
Were you going? That's the Theakston's one, isn't it?
I don't have an excuse not to, really, do I? I only live like an
No,
hour
you're too close.
away.
You
Yeah.
rate it? Is it good?
It is nice. Like this year, I just went on the site and hung out with people.
Mm.
I didn't even go to a panel, and it was nice.
That's probably a good way to do it because, I mean, Crime Fest is wall-to-wall panels over 3 days, and you just get a bit bored if you went to all of them. I only went to the first day, as I said, but yeah, the opportunity to hang out with people who care about the same things is pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the panels can be good. I do go into them. See, Sarah said Harrogate was brilliant. Sarah was at Harrogate.
Oh, was she? But
Mm.
when is Harrogate? Oh, that was recently, was it? August?
July. It's normally like the end of July.
Right, well, we'll have to look at that. I can't go to all of them, but that would be a good one to go to.
It's normally the end of school term. It's in the Old Swan in Harrogate, which is, I think, where Agatha Christie kind of ran off to. Because when she disappeared to Harrogate, didn't she?
Ah, right. Okay, yeah, no, that could be good. I must admit, although I only went to a day of Crime Fest, it was in May when I was still writing book one, and I learned quite a bit from it. It reinforced some of the things I was saying earlier about character rather than plot. It also reassured me that most of the writers seem to be pantsers rather than planners, so that made me not worry about that. And I don't know, there were just certain little things that came out of it. I remember, what's his name? Lee, T.J. Lee, or the guy who writes about a DCI in Bristol who is autistic. He did 18 months research before he started writing the first page in order to get his autistic guy right. I think The Dentist or something is one of them. So he's written a few books.
Tim Sullivan.
That's him. Yeah. Yeah, he was really interesting to listen to, and you do learn a lot from these guys. So the odd panel is worth it, but yeah, just getting the chance to chat to readers and authors is good.
Very indifferent to get like a character that's autistic right, I would imagine, on the page.
I would think that was really hard. I mean, I think he's very brave doing that much research, but you've got to do it, haven't you? If you're getting a character right, and they've got that sort of thing, like Strike in J.K. Rowling's books, the Strike series with his leg. You've got to get it right exactly how he manages his leg and the pain it causes him and so on. You've got to do the research.
I think the trouble, if you're doing something like, I'd be really interesting to talk to Tim about it with a character with something like autism, is that like every autistic person is dramatically different.
Yeah.
Any other one that you meet. It's such a wide spectrum.
That's true, but it's kind of an advantage as well, isn't it? In that, I suppose if you're writing about an autistic person, they're not going to be identical to an autistic person who's reading the book, or
Exactly.
someone who knows an autistic person. So yeah, I guess that's an advantage. But that's true about any illness, whether it's mental or physical, isn't it? It's different for everyone.
True. I don't think I don't think autistic people would define it as an illness, but yeah.
No, but well, any illness or difficulty is different, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. So we've got about 6 minutes left. So we've covered you going to all the festivals. Have you done any like bookshop events? Like local?
No, I haven't. Sorry, say that again. I lost that last bit in the mouthful.
Sorry, have you done any bookshop events locally?
I haven't. No, I probably should, but I haven't. I just haven't got myself wound up into doing it. I think, yeah, well, I should do, but I haven't. Similarly with library events, I need to start doing that.
Could book in together.
As does Abby, by the way. As does Abby.
Yeah, well, maybe go as a duo. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense, wouldn't it? We live near enough to each other. It's a good idea. We should do it. There's some good bookshops around here. I
Yeah,
think she got put off it a bit by the local Waterstones when she was a published author who just sort of, well, I think it was down to the manager. He just sort of rubbished her when she asked about it and said it's all determined by central, what's it? But I think, you know, there's plenty of independent booksellers anyway that we should approach. And I think it
Yeah.
does make sense to do it, yeah.
and down if you're near Bath and things, you'll have some good bookshops. Won't you? There's some good
Yeah.
ones.
I think Toppings is one in Bath that's an independent bookseller. So, yeah, we must.
Good. Well, reminders. So you've got 4 minutes. Reminders what people are going to go away and buy. Show off the
What
book.
are they going to go away and buy? They're going to go away and buy 15 books in this series. I've only written one so far, but yeah, Taken to the Hills is in reverse on the screen, isn't it? Taken to the Hills is the first book in the series. Right now, because it only came out yesterday, the ebook's only 99p, and it will be for 3 or 4 days more before it reverts to £2.99. But as I said, it's available as paperback or audiobook, read by the brilliant Aubrey Parsons. So that's the one, yeah. It's out. It's my debut, and it's the first of many, certainly of 3, and hopefully of many.
Excellent. On Kindle Unlimited too.
And free if you're on Kindle Unlimited. Yeah, absolutely.
And do you want to give Abby's recent book a plug as well, or the one that
Yeah, I can't hold it up, but I can give a plug to both. So Arrietty is a brilliant book, which I've read it half a dozen times, and each time there are 3 bits in the book that bring a tear to my eye, because it's very emotionally deep, and the twists are just brilliant. And her number 1 fan, which came out last week, if you think a bit Misery, then it's that kind of plot. So again, quite dark. Roles reversed from Misery, if you like, in that it's a woman taken hostage by a man, and the man, Mikey, is one of her brilliant characters. I think as good as Mother was in Mother Loves Me. He's a brilliant character. And there's a good bit of action at the end when she's trying to escape.
So
that's a good one.
Because Mother Loves Me was amazing. So
I think it was brilliant, yeah, but then I'm a little biased.
I will add to this that when Abby was on last, she did plug your book quite a bit that was coming up.
Oh, good for her. Well, that's good for her. Good. Well, I can't stop plugging her, so they're awesome.
And then thanks for joining us. It's been
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
You're welcome back anytime.
All right. Cheers. When I'm on book 18, 20, 50, something like that.
Maybe.
All right.